When the wine ran short, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, how does your concern affect me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servers, "Do whatever he tells you." Now there were 6 stone water jars there for Jewish ceremonial washings, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus told them, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Draw some out now and take it to the head waiter." So they took it. And when the head waiter tasted the water that had become wine, without knowing where it had come from, although the servers who had drawn the water knew, the head waiter called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves good wine first, and then when people have drunk freely, an inferior one. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this as the beginning of his signs here in Cana in Galilee, and so revealed his glory, and his disciples began to believe in him. After this, he and his mother, his brothers, and his disciples went down to Capernaum and stayed there only a few days. The Gospel of the Lord. Marriage is instituted by God. It is not a human institution in that sense. It's divine. It's a sacrament, which means an outward sign of inward grace. And the priest does not marry the 2 people that come along. The Church is quite clear that the husband mediates the sacrament to his wife, and the wife mediates the sacrament to the husband. They marry each other by the vows that they express. That is the sacrament. And as we know, in every marriage, there has to be 3 people. If a marriage just has 2 people, then it's very likely going to fail. And of course, the 3rd person is God himself. The marriage is rather like a reflection of the Trinity, the love of the Father and the Son, producing the love of the Holy Spirit. And in the marriage, the love of the husband for the wife is embodied, is given strength, is given divine power through the action of the Holy Spirit, the 3rd person in the marriage. The marriage really is like a trinity. And if it's that, it will succeed. And your marriages have succeeded because of the faith, the deep faith that you all share. And in that sense, you are examples to everybody else who would think about taking marriage vows. As a priest, I had to train for 7 years, because I was a monk as well, so I had 7 years training for the priesthood. And if we compare that to the training people get to be husband and wife, it doesn't really compare. And it should do. I think, the Church is thinking more and more seriously about giving couples time to think, time to get to know each other, time to understand what the demands of marriage life are. Not only the demands, but the support that God gives to a married couple. If a married couple were aware of the fact that God is with them, that God is supporting them, that they have grace, the sacrament gives grace, which is not a stuff or anything like that. It is the action of God's life working in their lives to enable them to love. Remember, you fall in love. You can remember the day, I'm sure, that you fell in love with each other. And that's a very human thing to do. It's a very passionate thing to do. And it's what gets the whole thing going in the first place. But it's not enough to keep it going. You have to, in a sense, fall out of love and begin to see the other person in the reality of their condition and begin to love them as a fallen person with faults and irritations and all that stuff that you find when you live with somebody. And you can only do that with the grace of God. And what the grace of God does is to help us see Christ in the other person. Not just a person who is cooperating with grace, but yes, grace makes us see Christ in the other person. The other person is Christ, and therefore needs to be loved as Christ. So these are the thoughts that we need to think about as we take up the next how many years of our married life that we're going to live through, to remind ourselves about the all-important presence of God between you two people, supporting you in your love and deepening your love, enriching your love. And maybe you need to think about being of service to other young people who are thinking about getting married and sharing your insights, your experience of how to live a successful married life, which is so needed in our own day and age when so many marriages fail because of this paucity of teaching. I think a lot of it is to do with paucity of teaching about what the reality of the sacrament is and the support that can be gained by realizing what the sacrament is in terms of its power, in terms of its mediation of God's life to the two who are being married and are living together. So let's think about these things as we celebrate the Mass.